Picture this, it's 6:47 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. Your alarm has been screaming at you for the third time. You roll over, squint at your phone, and immediately feel that familiar weight settling on your chest. The weight of another day that feels exactly like yesterday, another day where you'll scroll through social media for 20 minutes before getting up, rush through your morning routine, grab coffee on the way to work or school, and spend the next 8 to 10 hours feeling like you're running on a treadmill that never stops moving. Sound familiar? I want you to know something right now. You're not alone in this feeling. That restlessness, that sense that you're somehow missing out on your own life, that quiet voice whispering that there has to be more than this. Millions of people wake up with these exact same thoughts every single day. But here's what I've learned after years of studying human potential, after interviewing hundreds of people who transformed their lives, and after going through my own journey from feeling completely lost to finding genuine fulfillment. The problem isn't that happiness is too complicated to achieve. The problem is that we've been looking for it in all the wrong places. We've been told that happiness is a destination, a place we'll arrive at once we get the promotion, once we find the perfect relationship, once we lose those 20 pounds, once we move to that dream city, once we finally have enough money in our bank account to feel secure. We've been programmed to believe that joy is something we earn, something we deserve only after we've checked all the boxes on society's list of success. But what if I told you that's the biggest lie you've ever been sold? What if I told you that happiness isn't a destination at all? It's a journey you choose every single day, every single moment, with every single breath you take. 3 years ago, I met a woman named Sarah at a coffee shop in downtown Chicago. She was sitting alone at a corner table, and something about her presence caught my attention. Not because she was particularly glamorous or dressed in expensive clothes, quite the opposite. Actually, she was wearing a simple sweater with a small hole near the elbow. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun, and she was writing in what looked like an old, worn notebook, but she was glowing. I know that sounds cliche, but I can't think of a better way to describe it. There was this energy radiating from her that made everyone in the cafe unconsciously glance in her direction. She wasn't trying to get attention, she was completely absorbed in whatever she was writing, but there was something magnetic about her contentment. I couldn't help myself. I walked over and asked what she was working on that made her look so genuinely happy. She looked up with a smile that reached her eyes and said, "I'm writing down 3 things I'm grateful for today, just like I do every morning. Today is the fact that my neighbor's dog wagged his tail when he saw me, the perfect temperature of my coffee, and the way the sunlight is hitting that building across the street." I thought she was joking. Surely someone who radiated that kind of joy had some big, impressive reason to be happy. Maybe she'd just gotten engaged, or landed her dream job, or won the lottery. But as we talked, I learned that Sarah was actually going through one of the most challenging periods of her life. She'd been laid off from her job 6 months earlier, was behind on rent, and had recently ended a long-term relationship that hadn't been working. On paper, she had every reason to be miserable. Instead, she was one of the happiest people I'd ever encountered. The secret, she told me, isn't waiting for life to give you reasons to be happy. The secret is training yourself to find those reasons every single day. Even when, especially when everything seems to be falling apart. That conversation changed everything for me. Because I realized that while I've been spending years chasing happiness, like it was some elusive butterfly, I needed to catch. Sarah had discovered something profound. Happiness isn't something that happens to you. It's something you cultivate. It's something you practice. It's something you choose. Think about your own life for a moment. How much time do you spend each day waiting for something external to make you feel good? Waiting for Friday to feel excited about the weekend? Waiting for vacation to feel relaxed? Waiting for someone to text you back to feel valued? waiting for the perfect moment to start living the life you actually want. We've become professional waiters, not the kind who serve food, but the kind who put our happiness on hold indefinitely, always convinced that the right circumstances are just around the corner. But here's what nobody tells you about this waiting game while you're sitting there postponing your joy until tomorrow. Your life is happening right now. This moment, right now, as you're listening to these words, this is your life, not the version you'll have next year when you figured everything out. Not the version you'll have when you finally feel ready. This messy, imperfect, beautifully chaotic version you're living right now. And the most beautiful part, you have more power over your experience of this moment than you realize. I want to take you on a journey today, not a journey to some distant destination where happiness lives, but a journey inward to the place where genuine contentment has been waiting for you all along. We're going to explore why your mindset is the most powerful tool you possess, how to find purpose even in the mundane moments, and most importantly, how small, seemingly insignificant changes in your daily routine can create a completely different life. Because here's the truth that took me years to understand. You don't need to overhaul your entire existence to feel fulfilled. You don't need to quit your job, move to a different country, or become a completely different person. You just need to learn how to show up differently for the life you already have. The ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle once said that we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. But I want to take that a step further. Happiness is not a feeling that randomly visits us when we're lucky. Happiness is a habit. Awaken, a practice that gets stronger every time you choose it. Your mindset is like a garden. Every thought you think is a seed you're planting. Every belief you hold is determining what grows in the soil of your consciousness. And just like a garden, your mind will grow whatever you give the most attention to. If you wake up every morning and immediately start thinking about everything that's wrong in your life, you're planting seeds of dissatisfaction. If you spend your commute listening to news that makes you anxious about the state of the world, you're watering thoughts of fear. If you go to bed every night replaying all the ways you felt inadequate during the day, you're fertilizing self-doubt. But what if you started planting different seeds? What if, instead of reaching for your phone the moment you wake up to see what you missed while you were sleeping, you spent the first 5 minutes of your day thinking about one thing you're excited about? Not something huge. Maybe it's the fact that you get to try a new coffee shop on your lunch break, or that your favorite show has a new episode tonight, or that you're going to call your grandmother this weekend. This isn't about toxic positivity or pretending that challenges don't exist. This is about recognizing that you have a choice in where you direct your mental energy, and that choice has profound consequences on the quality of your daily experience. Thomas Edison failed over 1,000 times before he successfully invented the light bulb. When a reporter asked him how it felt to fail so many times, Edison replied, "I have not failed. I've just found 0 ways that won't work." That's not just clever wordplay. That's a man who understood that his mindset would determine whether his experiments were failures or stepping stones. Think about your own relationship with failure for a moment. How do you talk to yourself when things don't go according to plan? Do you tell yourself you're not good enough, not smart enough, not worthy enough? Or do you treat setbacks as information, as course corrections, as evidence that you're brave enough to try things that matter? The conversation you have with yourself is the most important conversation you'll ever have. It's happening constantly, whether you're aware of it or not, and the quality of that conversation is directly linked to the quality of your life. I once read about a study where researchers gave 2 groups of people the exact same puzzle to solve. Before starting, they told the first group, "This is a test of your intelligence." They told the second group, "This is a game designed to be fun and challenging." Can you guess which group performed better? The second group not only solved more puzzles correctly, but they also reported enjoying the experience more and wanted to continue working on similar problems afterward. Some at puzzle, same people, different frame of reference, completely different outcomes. Your life is full of puzzles, challenges at work, conflicts in relationships, financial pressures, health concerns, family drama. You can approach these puzzles as tests of your worth, as evidence of how hard life is, as proof that you're somehow behind where you should be. Or you can approach them as games, as opportunities to grow, as chances to discover capabilities you didn't know you had. The choice is always yours. But mindset isn't just about how you handle problems. It's also about how you recognize possibilities. Most people walk through life with tunnel vision, so focused on their own struggles that they miss the extraordinary things happening all around them. When was the last time you really looked at a sunset? Not just glanced at it while you were thinking about what to make for dinner, but actually stopped what you were doing and watched the sky transform. When was the last time you had a conversation with a stranger that reminded you how fascinating people can be? When was the last time you felt genuinely amazed by something as simple as the fact that you can think a thought in your mind and then move your fingers to type it out? We live in a world full of miracles, but we've trained ourselves to see only the mundane. This brings us to something crucial: the difference between having a vision for your life and simply having wishes. A wish is passive. I wish I was happier. I wish I had more money. I wish I was in better shape. I wish I had a more fulfilling job. Wishes put the responsibility for your contentment on external circumstances. A vision is active. A vision asks, what kind of person do I want to become? What kind of impact do I want to have? What kind of energy do I want to bring to my relationships? What kind of legacy do I want to leave? The beautiful thing about developing a personal vision is that it doesn't require you to have your whole life figured out. It just requires you to start making decisions based on who you want to become rather than who you've been. Let me tell you about Marcus, a guy I met at a workshop I was leading last year. He was 28 years old, working a job he described as soul-crushing, living in his parents' basement, and spending most of his free time playing video games or scrolling through social media. He felt stuck in a cycle of disappointment and couldn't see a way out. When I asked him to describe his vision for his life, he initially said he didn't have one. But as we talked, it became clear that he did have dreams. He just convinced himself they were unrealistic. He wanted to start his own graphic design business. He wanted to travel to at least 10 countries before he turned 35. He wanted to be the kind of person his younger cousins looked up to. He wanted to feel proud of how he spent his days. The problem wasn't that his vision was impossible. The problem was that he was trying to bridge the gap between where he was and where he wanted to be in one giant leap, which felt overwhelming and paralyzed him into inaction. So we broke it down. Instead of start a graphic design business, his first step became spend 30 minutes every evening working on design projects that interest me. Instead of travel to 10 countries, it became save $20 a week and research one new destination each month. Instead of become someone my cousins look up to, it became call one of them every Sunday to see how they're doing. 6 months later, Marcus had built a portfolio of design work that landed him his first freelance client. He'd saved enough money to book a trip to Costa Rica. His relationship with his family had improved dramatically. And most importantly, he'd stopped waiting for his life to begin. The secret wasn't that Marcus suddenly became a different person overnight. The secret was that he started making small, consistent choices aligned with his vision rather than his current circumstances. This is what purpose looks like in real life. It's not necessarily about finding your one true calling or having some grand mission that changes the world. Sometimes purpose is as simple as deciding that you want to be someone who brings more kindness into the world, or someone who creates beautiful things, or someone who helps others feel less alone. Purpose gives you a North Star. It helps you make decisions when you're clear on who you want to become It becomes easier to choose actions that move you in that direction and avoid actions that don't. But here's where most people get stuck. They create a vision for their life and then immediately start focusing on all the obstacles in their way. I want to start my own business, but I don't have enough money. I want to travel more, but I have too many responsibilities. I want to get in shape, but I don't have time to go to the gym. I want to find love, but all the good ones are taken. Every single one of these statements might be true, but focusing on obstacles has never solved any of them. What if, instead of cataloging everything that's wrong or missing or impossible, you started asking yourself a different question? What's one small thing I could do today that would move me even a tiny bit closer to who I want to become? The answer to that question is never overwhelming. It's never impossible. It's always something you can do right now. Today, with whatever resources you currently have, this shift from obstacle-focused thinking to possibility-focused thinking is revolutionary. It's the difference between feeling like a victim of your circumstances and feeling like the author of your story. But I know what you're thinking. You're thinking about all the things in your life that you can't control. Your difficult boss, your family drama, the economy, global politics, your health challenges, the way other people treat you. And you're right, there are countless things in life that are completely outside your influence. But focusing on what you can't control is like trying to drive a car by staring in the rearview mirror. You'll miss every opportunity to steer toward where you actually want to go. This is perhaps the hardest lesson I've had to learn, and it's one I have to relearn constantly. The only person you can control is yourself. The only moment you can influence is this one. The only thoughts you can change are your own. Everything else is outside your jurisdiction. I think about my friend David, who spent 3 years angry at his ex-wife for the way their marriage ended. 3 years rehearsing arguments in his head. 3 years explaining to anyone who would listen how unfairly he'd been treated. 3 years waiting for an apology that never came. Meanwhile, his relationship with his kids was suffering because he was so consumed with resentment. His work performance declined because he couldn't focus. He stopped exercising, stopped socializing, stopped doing the things that used to bring him joy. One day, his 8-year-old daughter asked him, "Daddy, why are you always sad now?" That question broke his heart open in the best possible way. He realized that while he was busy trying to control his ex-wife's feelings and actions, he was letting his own life slip away. He was sacrificing his relationship with his children, his health, his peace of mind, all in service of trying to change something that was never his to change. The next week, he started seeing a therapist. He began exercising again. He planned special outings with his kids. He started dating when he felt ready. He didn't suddenly become okay with how his marriage had ended, but he stopped allowing that situation to control his present moment. This is what letting go actually looks like. It's not about pretending that hurtful things didn't happen. It's not about immediately forgiving people who haven't earned forgiveness. It's about recognizing that holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You're the one who gets burned. Letting go is about reclaiming your energy. It's about deciding that your peace of mind is more valuable than your need to be, right? It's about choosing your future over your past. Think about something in your own life that you've been trying to control but can't. Maybe it's how quickly your career advances. Maybe it's whether someone you care about makes healthy choices. Maybe it's how your family members treat each other. Maybe it's global events that trigger your anxiety. What would it feel like to take all the mental and emotional energy you've been spending on that situation and redirect it towards something you actually can influence? Your own skills, your own relationships, your own daily habits, your own response to whatever happens. This redirection of energy is where transformation begins, because when you stop wasting your power on things outside your control, you suddenly have so much more power available for things within your control. And that brings us to one of the most underrated forces for happiness in human experience. Gratitude. I used to think gratitude was something you did when good things happened, like a thank you note you send to the universe when life goes your way. But that's not gratitude. That's just good manners. Real gratitude is a practice. It's a way of training your mind to notice what's working instead of only focusing on what's broken. It's a decision to appreciate what you have while you're working toward what you want. Here's what I've discovered about gratitude. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about developing the ability to find something beautiful or meaningful or valuable in every day, even the difficult ones. On the day my grandmother passed away, I felt devastated. She'd been one of the most important people in my life, and I wasn't ready to say goodbye. But as I sat with my family that evening, sharing stories about her, I realized that even in my grief, there were things to be grateful for. I was grateful that I'd had the chance to tell her I loved her the week before she died. I was grateful for all the recipes she taught me that I still use. I was grateful that she lived long enough to meet my children. I was grateful for the way her passing brought our family together to remember and celebrate her life. That doesn't mean I wasn't sad. Gratitude doesn't erase difficult emotions. It just ensures they don't erase everything else. The practice of gratitude literally rewires your brain. Neuroscientists have discovered that people who regularly express gratitude show increased activity in the hypothalamus, the part of the brain that regulates stress, and the ventral tegmental area, which is part of the brain's reward system. In simple terms, when you make gratitude a habit, your brain becomes better at noticing positive experiences and worse at fixating on negative ones. But gratitude isn't just about recognizing good things that happen to you. It's also about appreciating challenges that help you grow, setbacks that redirect you toward better paths, and even difficult people who teach you patience or boundaries or resilience. I think about Abraham Lincoln, who faced more rejection and failure in his early life than most people experience in a lifetime. He lost his job, was defeated for state legislature, failed in business, had a nervous breakdown, was defeated for speaker, defeated for nomination for Congress, lost renomination, was rejected for land officer, was defeated for Senate, and was defeated for nomination for vice president. Most people would have given up after the first few setbacks. But Lincoln understood something profound. Every failure was preparing him for something bigger. Every rejection was teaching him empathy for people who felt powerless. Every setback was building the resilience he would need to lead the country through its darkest period. When he finally became president, he was uniquely qualified for the challenges he faced because of all the challenges he'd already overcome. Your setbacks are not evidence that you're not meant for success. They're preparation for the success that's coming. This perspective shift from seeing obstacles as roadblocks to seeing them as stepping stones is what separates people who create lasting positive change in their lives from people who stay stuck in cycles of frustration. Which brings us to the heart of everything, the power of small, consistent actions. We live in a culture obsessed with dramatic transformation. We want to lose 30 pounds in 30 days. We want to go from beginner to expert overnight. We want to revolutionize our entire existence by next Tuesday. But real, lasting change doesn't happen in dramatic moments. It happens in the mundane ones. It happens when you choose to do the right thing, even when nobody's watching, even when you don't feel like it, even when the results aren't immediately visible. Consider the bamboo plant. After you plant bamboo seeds, you water them and care for them every single day. For the first year, you see no growth above ground. The second year, still nothing. The third year, nothing. The fourth year, nothing. Then, in the fifth year, the bamboo plant grows 90 feet in 6 weeks. Was it a miracle that happened in 6 weeks? Or was it the result of 5 years of consistent, patient nurturing. The same principle applies to building a life you love. Every day that you choose gratitude over complaint, you're nurturing growth. Every day that you choose courage over comfort, you're nurturing growth. Every day that you choose kindness over indifference, you're nurturing growth. You might not see dramatic results immediately. You might feel like nothing is changing, but beneath the surface, in ways you can't see, you're building the foundation for the life you want. I want you to think about one habit, just one that you could start today that would make your life better if you did it consistently for the next year. Maybe it's reading for 15 minutes before bed instead of scrolling through your phone. Maybe it's going for a walk during your lunch break. Maybe it's sending one text every week to someone you care about just to check in. Maybe it's writing down 3 things you're grateful for every morning. It doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that it's small enough to feel doable and significant enough to create positive change over time. The mistake most people make is trying to change everything at once. They decide they're going to wake up at 5 a.m., meditate for an hour, exercise for 90 minutes, eat perfectly, read for 2 hours, and completely reorganize their social life. That lasts about 3 days. Instead, pick one small thing, do it for a week. When it starts to feel automatic, add something else. This is how you build momentum. This is how you create lasting change. This is how you become someone who doesn't just dream about a better life, but actually lives one. But here's the most important part of this entire conversation. Everything we've talked about starts with how you treat yourself. You cannot give what you do not have. You cannot love others well if you don't love yourself. You cannot create positive change in the world if you're constantly at war with yourself. Self-love isn't selfish. It's strategic. It's the foundation that everything else is built on. Think about how you talk to your best friend when they're going through a difficult time. You're probably patient, understanding, encouraging. You probably help them see their situation from different perspectives. You probably remind them of their strengths and past successes. Now think about how you talk to yourself when you're going through a difficult time. Are you as kind to yourself as you are to your best friend? Most people are not. Most people have an internal critic that would be fired immediately if it were an external employee. This voice tells you that you're not good enough, not smart enough, not attractive enough, not successful enough, not worthy of love or happiness or respect. But here's what that voice doesn't want you to know. It's not telling you the truth. It's just trying to protect you from disappointment by convincing you not to try. The voice of self-criticism isn't your enemy, but it's also not your friend. It's a scared part of yourself that needs reassurance, not agreement. When you notice yourself being self-critical, try responding with curiosity instead of judgment. Ask yourself, what am I afraid of right now? What do I need to feel safe? How can I support myself through this challenge? Treat yourself like someone you love, because you are someone you love, or at least someone you're learning to love. This journey of self-acceptance isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming whole. It's about integrating all parts of yourself, the parts you're proud of and the parts you're still working on, into one complete, complex, beautifully human being. I think about Maya Angelou, who overcame incredible trauma and hardship to become one of the most beloved writers and speakers of our time. She once said, "There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you." What stories are you carrying inside you that you've been afraid to tell? What dreams have you been hiding because you're worried about what others might think? What version of yourself have you been afraid to become because it feels too vulnerable, too risky, too different from who you've always been? Your authenticity is your superpower. The world doesn't need another copy of someone else. The world needs the first and only version of you, but becoming yourself requires courage. It requires the willingness to disappoint people who prefer the version of you that makes them comfortable. It requires setting boundaries. It requires saying no to things that don't align with your values and yes to things that scare you but excite you. It requires forgiveness of others who have hurt you and of yourself for all the ways you think you've fallen short. Forgiveness isn't about condoning harmful behavior. It's about freeing yourself from the prison of resentment. It's about choosing healing over holding grudges. As we near the end of our time together today, I want to leave you with this truth. You already have everything you need to start living differently. You don't need more time, more money, more education, or more permission. You just need to begin with one small choice. Begin with one moment of gratitude. Begin with one act of kindness toward yourself. Begin with one step toward the person you want to become. The life you want isn't waiting for you somewhere in the future when you finally have everything figured out. The life you want is available to you right now, in this moment, through the choices you make today. Remember Sarah from the coffee shop. She didn't have a perfect life, but she had a perfect practice. She had trained herself to find beauty and meaning in ordinary moments. She had learned that happiness isn't about what happens to you, it's about how you respond to what happens to you. You have that same power. You have that same choice. You have that same opportunity to decide right now that you're going to show up differently for your own life. Stop waiting for Friday to be excited. Stop waiting for a vacation to relax. Stop waiting for the perfect circumstances to start pursuing what matters to you. Stop waiting for someone else to give you permission to take care of yourself, to follow your dreams, to believe that you deserve good things. Your life is happening now. Your opportunity is now. Your power is now. The secret to meaningful days isn't complicated. It's not about having more or being more or doing more. It's about appreciating more, choosing more consciously, and loving more deeply. Starting with yourself every morning, you wake up with a choice. You can approach the day as something that's happening to you, or as something you're actively creating. You can focus on what's missing, or you can appreciate what's present. You can wait for happiness to find you, or you can decide to find happiness in the journey you're already on. Small habits create big changes. Small moments create big memories. Small choices create big transformations. The journey to a life you love starts with a single step, and that step is available to you right now. What will you choose? If this message resonated with you, if it reminded you of something you already knew but needed to hear again, I'd love for you to share with someone who might need this reminder too. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is help each other remember who we really are and what we're really capable of. And if you want more conversations like this, more reminders about your inherent worth, more strategies for building a life that feels authentic and fulfilling, more stories about ordinary people creating extraordinary change in their daily lives, I hope you'll subscribe and join this community of people who believe that every single day is an opportunity to begin again. Your story is still being written. Make it a beautiful one.